Mama told me when I was young, come sit beside me, yeah, my only son. Well, listen closely, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to the next episode of Skynyrd Shorts here on YouTube and from the Broadneck Studios. Joe and I are ready to talk about today's episode, which is titled
Ronnie and Neil, Sweet Home Alabama.
Ronnie and Neil, specifically talking about Ronnie Van Zant and Neil Young, and the song Sweet Home Alabama, along with a bunch of other crap we're going to throw in there. So, before we start the episode, I am looking for a friend of mine from 25 years ago named John Eastwood. John came up with the idea, with a couple other guys, of talking to Lacey Van Zant and getting Lacey to give John a tour through his home. And it happened, and John took his video camera, and they had a video of Lacey walking them room to room, showing them mementos and different things from, Ronnie's childhood and just all kinds of cool stuff. And I got a copy of the VHS. I lost it, or I can't find it. So if you know John Eastwood or knew him or whatever, I've been trying to email him. I would love to get that video and share it with you guys, because it was really, really cool having Lacey, the godfather of Southern rock, I guess you might call him. Actually, I think he calls him the father, but it'd be cool to have that. So if you know that, get us in touch. It'd be great. Also, we've been reading the comments and having a good time with all y'all in the comments, right?
I really appreciate that.
So, just to let you know, we're not here to say we're the experts about nothing. We're fans. We love Leonard Skinner just like you guys do. And we're learning all the time. And in fact, one of the cool things we saw in the comments was apparently there's a video for the band
Putting the songs together for Steve Gaines.
teaching Steve Gaines to play Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. Wouldn't that be cool to have? So if you have any access to that tape, it'd be great. I would love to share it with y'all. And just, man, unbelievable how that might be. Sweet Home Alabama. Kind of the song that put Leonard Skinner on everybody's radio in 1974. Their first record was, I think, well received, but it wasn't, it wasn't as widespread. Sweet Home Alabama hit the charts and was played on probably every radio station in America.
It was a fan anthem. They were calling in to hear that song.
Yeah, because first of all, it's just a great song. I mean, before you even get into what it's talking about, it's a great song. We're here to talk about it because it's a great song that we think is misunderstood. The backlash that song received was basically people saying that it was Ronnie defending racist and slavery in the ugly South.
It's just the opposite. Ronnie was defending the South, but there's one or two racists in the South, not the complete South.
So Neil Young wrote a couple songs, Southern Man and Alabama, which talked about all the ugliness of the South. We know what happened in Birmingham. We know about the KKK. We know there's some ugliness in the South. Ronnie was saying,
Hold up.
we ain't all like that. There's some good folks here too. And that kind of song starts off with his experience with the Swampers.
Very, very, very soulful sound from Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Yeah, and you talk about diversity. I mean, this is where Aretha recorded.
Etta James, Wilson Pickett.
Oh my gosh, right away. You don't need to go any further than that. These are the folks that were going to Muscle Shoals to record, and this is where Ronnie Van Zant and Leonard Skinner was. They recorded the album which became First and Last, a lot of those songs there. So I think that Ronnie understood that color didn't mean nothing. I mean, when it comes to music in particular, he understood where the roots of his music came from, blues and soul, and he was doing his best to represent that. And I just think that Neil Young might have hurt his feelings just a little bit, because Neil Young kind of painted the South with a broad brush.
And that's entirely untrue. In Ronnie's eyes, there was one or two that, didn't make the cut, and there were a lot of good people down south.
Yeah, and back in the 70s in particular, the South was kind of a parody. If you look at how they were represented on TV, it was the Beverly Hillbillies. It was the Dukes of Hazzard. It was Gomer Pyle. I mean, there wasn't a lot of shows in the South, that made the Southern people look good back in those days. And I think that Ronnie understood that, and he wanted to make the point that we all ain't bad.
We're just country boys, country folk, and we're not trying to be racist people.
Yeah, I don't put up with that. And I think that Ronnie wasn't that kind of person either. In the song, they talk about Neil Young, and he basically is saying to me, I don't need Neil Young to tell me there's problems, because everybody understood that. They also wanted to say there's some good folks down here.
Not as broad a picture as Neil Young wanted everybody to think it was.
Yeah, and of course, Neil Young, he's from Canada. What's he know about the South, right? And I think that's, a great, a great singer from Canada says some bad things about the South, and we're trying to set him straight.
Yeah.
Sort of. And Ronnie and Neil, right away, someone asked Neil what he thought about the song, and he said he was proud to be part of such a great song. I mean, this is right away. This is not, years and years later. It's while they were all still recording, and it's pretty clear that they became friends.
And respected each other.
Yeah. I think that Ronnie was a big Neil Young fan, and Neil Young was a big Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. I know that Ronnie Van Zant, for his part, if you have any doubt about it, he frequently wore, Neil Young T-shirt. Look on the cover of Street Survivors. That's Neil Young T-shirt from Tonight's the Night record. And Neil Young the same way. He actually played Sweet Home Alabama live many times.
He did.
And he would wear Leonard Skinner shirts. So I think that any feuds between those guys is misinterpreted.
Media formed, probably.
Yeah, and still, in the 70s and even up to today, there are media outlets who have a whole negative thought about the South, and it's just not true. It's like the Beverly Hillbillies, it's not true. So I think it's important. It was important to Ronnie. Ronnie was against big cities spreading out into the country. Yeah. You can listen to All I Can Do Is Write About It, and he talks about the spread of concrete.
Slowly creeping into his country area.
Lord, take me and mine before that comes, because he understood the beauty of not only the South, but just nature and outdoors itself. And there's nothing beautiful about a concrete parking lot, not at all.
You didn't go catch any fish in a concrete parking lot.
It'd be hard to catch a fish, and he loved to fish, and he was a simple guy, which is kind of great, and why I think I still love and respect everything that he did. And was Sweet Home Alabama political? Was Ronnie Van Zant political? I don't think so.
Hard to imagine that he had a political view of any kind other than whatever protected him and his family.
Yeah, I think he was probably in the middle. I think he just viewed the world about what was around him. He wrote a gun control song. Saturday Night Special was very clear. He understood the dangers of everybody having handguns. He understood what they could do. That Smell talked about drug use and alcohol, and I think he was very, very clear in how he saw the world.
Didn't need everybody like drinkers and druggies going in and buying a gun at the pawn shop. Just out of the blue, let's just go buy a gun.
Yeah, it's kind of like liquor stores with drive-through windows. It's almost a good idea.
And we're still talking about it today. If it makes any sense, Ronnie Van Zant was a little bit ahead of this curve in his own right.
Yeah.
He saw a lot of things coming that we understand now.
How many gun control songs were there in 1974? Not a lot. So he was affiliated a little bit with the Jimmy Carter campaign. Not really heavily into it. I think they had to cancel a fundraiser they were going to do. Charlie Daniels said that Ronnie loved or respected George Wallace. And I don't really know what to make of that. Ronnie certainly, I don't think, was into hatred. But then again, which George Wallace was he talking about? I mean, that's the duality of the South, right?
It was duality.
I mean, George Wallace stood on the steps of the University of Alabama in 1963 saying there will be no blacks ever enter this premises. Less than 10 years later, elected as governor of the state of Alabama, 95% of the black vote as a Democratic candidate. That can only happen in the South.
Yes, you're right.
Maybe George understood how he was wrong. I can't imagine segregation. I can't imagine a segregated world where who would think it's a good idea, but I didn't live in that time either, So we're not about politics.
We're not making a political show out of it.
Yeah.
We can't win like that.
That's my problem. I'm not on either side today. I just can't figure it all out. I think that, the band itself, the tribute band as I call it, even though I respect all those musicians, they went pretty conservative. They had a song called God and Guns, which hard to play that in a concert right after you play Saturday Night Special, I think. I think they don't really mix, right? Back to Sweet Home Alabama. Ed King wrote it.
Dreamt it.
Certainly dreamt the solo. Did I mention that?
Yes.
Yeah. So give us your comments. What you think about the song, the meaning, the Swampers, Ronnie's political leanings. Wouldn't it be great if Ronnie was around today and had done that solo record? And Ronnie was the new Merle Haggard. I mean, he'd be like Willie Nelson. He'd still be out there, right?
He definitely would be.
I mean, we'd be going down to see Ray Wally Hubbard opening for Ronnie Van Zant. Wouldn't that be a show?
It'd be great.
Oh my God. He definitely wanted to do that. He was more country. He would be an outlaw country guy. I could see him and Willie Nelson hanging out. It's a shame that never happened. Listen to Jacksonville Kid, kind of Ronnie's beginning into
Country.
Yeah, country. His tribute to Merle Haggard. Anything else we want to talk about? Man. We could talk about Sweet Home Alabama and all these things more, and we may. We have upcoming episodes where we're going to talk about, we mentioned Ricky Medlock. Did we mention that? We did not. We talk about songs that answer one another as, Ronnie Van Zant answered Neil Young. Ricky Medlock answered Ronnie Van Zant with the song Stars off the Blackfoot Record Reservations. Ricky will be talking about that. And Ricky, if you see this, man, I'd love for you to join us on a Zoom, or we can come and visit with you and just talk about those things. It'd be a lot of fun. Big respect for Blackfoot and that band.
Absolutely.
Saw them in Jackson, Tennessee in 1978 or 9 on the Tomcat tour.
Ooh, good album.
Great band. I mean, gosh, dang, they were great. Also talking about, we're having a Johnny Van Zant episode coming up. I saw Johnny Van Zant with his band in 1979 at Poets Music Hall in Memphis. They were spectacular, and I personally feel like we're missing something without having the Johnny Van Zant continue, the Johnny Van Zant band continue.
It's definitely got to be inserted.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We've got some Drew Lombard stuff coming up, I heard, right?
The Slide Master.
My guy, Drew Lombard. We have some Molly Hatchet stuff coming. The Rosalind Collins, Leon Wilkerson birthday party video for subscribers only is coming late August. And anything else? Keep watching, keep chatting, keep telling us what you think, keep correcting our mistakes, keep teaching us things that we don't know about our favorite band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. So until next time,
Thank y'all so much.
We'll see you then.